Today's a very special day because it's my first day on a coffee farm. Did you hear the burrito? Welcome to Oaxaca Coffee Nerds. I'm Brody, and this is the Nomad Barista. I'm not actually in Oaxaca now, but in one of my recent videos, I did a quick tour of Mexico City, and after a long overnight bus ride, we left off here in Oaxaca's capital. Even though the region of Oaxaca is much more well known for its mezcal, it is a major coffee growing region in Mexico, and I was happy to find a handful of people here in Oaxaca City, also known as Oaxaca de Juarez, doing some really cool things and taking it to the next level. While visiting Café Caracol, I got to catch up with the highly esteemed and super passionate coffee producer Enrique López, and he explained to me a few things what he was doing with his world-class coffee farm called Finca Chelín, and some of the innovative things he was working on, and we actually shared one of his coffees, hand-pressed by Abigail herself. So if you're ever in town, definitely swing by and visit Abigail. They literally have every method of making coffee, including that rock espresso presser contraption that you saw. I would actually love one of those for my home. The next morning I jumped on a 7-hour van ride, which seemed like an endless winding journey through the mountains towards the coast, where I went to go find my next lead. Taking a beautiful morning dip in the ocean after a night on the beach. Not like on the beach, but basically. I made my way down to the Beachfront Cafe and Roastery, Café. This is a naturally processed coffee straight from the farm, right here at Finca Las Nieves. And it's really delicious. Look what else I have. Esto es un mole. Se llama chilaquiles, creo. Es un mole con aguacate y con todo. Y it goes very well with this espresso. Later on we'll be heading down to the farm with Gustavo. You'll meet him later. And we'll check out what they've got going on. Gustavo showed me around the roastery, where we chatted about everything from biodiversity and organic health in farming to the need for true knowledge sharing in the local community with other farmers. He even told me the story of how years ago, when they were just starting out with coffee, a man named George Howell happened to be staying in the area, and he came by just to visit the cafe. They shared the whole story, they took him to the farm, and he basically told them everything that they were doing wrong. But he also showed them how they could improve. So from this moment, Finca Las Nieves actually changed gears a little bit, and we're now heading in the right direction. Next door, where Gustavo actually lives, we pulled up the truck, which, by the way, is run completely on recycled vegetable oil that he refines himself. We rummaged through the garden a bit, and he showed me some of the stuff that they're doing with composting, coffee parchment, making organic fertilizers from spirulina and other secret ingredients.
Yeah. De la mata a la cata, güey. Está chingón, güey. Mira, este pinche de la jaina, ¿ves?
He gave me a quick MTV Cribs, and it was finally time to head to the farm.
que ahorita, pero no, lo real de la calle, de la calle, sí jalan, ¿ves? Pero ya lo que hablan de allá abajo, no sé si...
Sí, ya mandaron al Gavilán, al Chuy, a ver si...
Now, you might be wondering about Gustavo. I mean, he sounds really Mexican, but he looks like he could be my brother. Though he was actually born and raised in Mexico, biologically he's half Swedish and half Dutch. His mom was back visiting from Stockholm for the time being, and we all took a drive into the mountains to visit the finca itself.
Cáscara.
Los inmaduros son los Quakers.
Ah, los inmaduros.
Nosotros le llamamos pintones, café pintón. Hay zonas que se desarrolla junto con el ácido clorogénico y la dulzura. Y hace tonos bien interesantes en el café, como sabor a toronja, ¿ves? So it kind of drops a bit and the sweetness prevails, ¿no? Pues sí, puedes hacer también un natural con esto si quieres, pero...
So, Goose gave me one of these guys. You can see, this is a ripe one. It's my first coffee cherry. I don't know what to describe how it tastes. It's really sweet. You're not supposed to eat the green beans like this, like the goats back in Ethiopia. I guess you could, but I'm not a Luwak, so Gus just told me there was this one guy with Tim Wendelbo. Not Tim, but another guy who actually ate like 100 cherries or something like that so that they could try the beans. You can assume the rest. I'm not gonna eat them, but look, I don't know, it's like, it's not even like sour at all, it's just all sweet. Goose passed me off to his right-hand man, Emilio, and the two of us hiked our way up deep into the forest. That machete never left his side. We're on this trail up to the Pescadores, avoiding the pumas and enjoying the fresh air of the mountains. And we found these geishas in the farm. They look pretty ripe.
Yo así como está este café,
Yeah.
yo le pongo unos 20 días, se mantiene rojo.
Ah, sí.
Sí.
Pues no se puede piscar
No.
más.
Sí, en 20 días este café todavía, ahorita se puede piscar así.
If you don't like spiders. Next up, depulping. Goose told me how they actually use the local mountain water to not only soak and wash the coffee, but to also power the whole machine, which is pretty awesome. Now, I'm still getting my head around all the different methods and proper ways of coffee processing in general, but finally seeing it firsthand, I feel like I have a much better perspective. This batch happened to be the wash process, and the cherries that they're depulping had been soaking overnight in these big tanks before being stripped of their shells, their cáscaras. And before the excess water can be reintroduced back into the environment, they actually run through a remineralization and natural stone filtration. Sounds like you could turn that into a nursery rhyme. Because the sugars and the residue from the cherries can't just go straight back into nature.
The floaters.
this setup they've got going on here. Beautiful room, beautiful skylights. Beautiful bathroom, very Mexican. I love the details. Look, it's like wood. So that's pretty much it. Very brief introduction to all the things that Finca Las Nieves do in terms of producing their coffee and in terms of being an organic farm. Now, Gus talked a lot about producing organic and how it's actually so cheap. I mean, you recycle the pulp, the cáscara, you make fertilizers out of spirulina and all this like other special ingredients from the farm, keeping all the energy in the farm, and you can really benefit not only the coffee beans themselves, but the local environment around you. So bio-intensive farming rather than bio-extensive. Nitrogen fixation, you know, keyline design, permaculture, all these fancy terms that even I don't really understand fully. All that to say, controlling the energy that you have on your land, and that at the end of the day will produce better results. I was inspired, I learned a lot, so I'm gonna leave you all with a bit of a nomadic brewing from Gus himself right here on the farm. But before I do, I actually want to give a huge shout out to my friend Alex at the Coffee Vine, because if he hadn't posted that article about popping his coffee cherry in Finca Las Nieves with Gustavo, I probably would have never gotten in touch. But Alex wrote a great piece and I was inspired. So I'll leave you with that. And if you enjoyed this video, if you learned something about Mexico, if you got inspired to delve a little bit deeper into what specialty coffee has to offer, leave a little comment down below. Like the video if you thought it was insightful, and subscribe if you want to see more of these videos. Once again, I'm Brody, this is the Nomad Barista, and until next time, enjoy some coffee with Gustavo. Yeah.
¡Feliz en el estuche! Ahí sí. A ver, voy a tirar todo, güey, mira.
Finca Las Nieves.
De la mata a la cata.
¿Cómo saben?
Está peluche, güey.
¿Peluche?
Está bien tostado, Mucho más fácil que el otro.
Try it, try it.
Be happy as long as you have the grip, guys. It's important in life.
Pues ahora sí que lo que te toca, ¿no? Ahí va, 1, 2. ¡Peluche en el estuche!
You want to have it from this and... wood here.
Sí,
And
ya se lo
last time
acabaron.
We had to take it all down because there was a snake below here.
Sí, una culebrona, ¿no?
You're kidding me.
Necesita agarrar el de aquel. Rápido.
Gracias, hijo.
¿Estás filmando, güey?
Thank you, man.
All the time. Watch
Sí.
it like that.
Así me sabe a maracuya, güey. Sí, chingos.
What's the secret, Gustavo? You got the noise?
Por la nariz. Ese es el secreto, güey. Por eso estamos narizones, ¿ves? Ahí viene todo, ¿ves? La memoria olfativa. Tar det lugnt.
Jag försöker.
Ja, ta det lugnt.
Man måste se.